speaking of meat, the meat of the episode. I don't know why I continue to use this stupid phrasing. But Gencon, as I said in the beginning, is almost within 2 weeks. As of recording this, it's like 10 days. I should have this up within a couple. So you're probably looking at like a week or so. And we have a list of awesome games. Well, we have a list of games that we're excited about. And whether or not they're awesome yet is yet
to be determined.
Right. So just a precursor, not a precursor, but a thing before we go into this. We're obviously not going to list every game. There's over 600 of them or so in the Gencon preview database for Board Game Geek. Props to them for putting this together so that we can utilize all their work. But I am a patron. Every year I put money towards you guys so I can use this. I'm fine. I guess it's there for a purpose, but it is worth noting that we are going to skip a lot of the games that we talked about at Origins because some of those were demos at Origins and we got excited about and talked about them. Now they might be available to purchase here. George has a list of most of the games I think that we talked about that are going to be available for purchase at Gen Con and were not for purchase at Origins. So if you are interested in any of these games, just to check out our previous episode, maybe 2 episodes ago. Yeah, 2 episodes ago, where we talked about the Origins games preview.
Okay, and these are, like you say, some of the notable ones that will be on sale. Certainly not everything from Origins that is now on sale. Mm-hmm. We have Luxor, The Mummy's Curse. We have Mega City. Mystery House Adventures in a Box is not for sale, sorry, but check that one out. That looks really cool. Also for sale, Monster Slaughter. We have Mental Blocks, Letter Jam, Detective, City of Angels, and Seasons of Inish.
And just to note, the mystery box thing, if you haven't checked on our Instagram account, check out our Instagram TV. Eric and I did some videos on there where we interviewed the publishers and had them kind of run through the games, and one of those was the Mystery House. So I think it actually has like 700 views or so. So it's doing pretty well. On top of that, I forgot to note these. I just noticed them, but Dungeon Academy is going to be for sale. That was the one I was most excited about that they did not have for sale, but they were supposed to, I guess. And Unearth the Lost Tribe, which they were supposed to also have. This is the expansion to Unearth, but they did not have it. But it will be there at Gen Con, so very exciting. We're going to start with Eric.
Yes. So my first one here is Isle of Cats. Actually, I looked at it just because it was one of the most thumbed up on this grouping here on this list. So it's by the City of Games, which I don't know too much about this publisher. But so the story of the game is you're traveling to this island that has all these cats on it. There is a guy or a company that's going to this island to take all the wood from it. So you're going over there to save these cats and put them on your ship. And they are in kind of forms of Tetris pieces. So you're trying to, get those cats on in different ways and these treasures. So it kind of looked interesting. I'll check it out. It is for demo and not for sale, but something to look out for.
Cool. The first game I've got up on here is Dragon Scales. It is by Richard Lanius and published by Arcane Wonders. This is, and it has Stephen Gibson. This is like a trio of awesome, I'm just saying, because Stephen does amazing art. He does a lot of Greenbrier games artwork. But basically, it is a game where you play the villains and you have this loose alliance with everybody because there's this crazy dragon that you want to kill to take his stuff, basically, because you're bad guys, I guess. And the board looks cool. There's not a ton of information. It looks awesome. Like as far as the artwork and the board setup and everything, there's only a couple paragraphs about it on Board Game Geek, so there's not a lot of stuff, but it is the next entry in the, I believe, the Dice Tower Essentials line. So I'm going to assume it's going to be pretty good because Tom would probably not publish it otherwise. Get, for the Dice Tower Essentials line. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it looks awesome. I'm excited about the artwork. No, I know that no one can see this on the thing, but
it looks nice.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It's very really vibrant art, even though you're like supposed to be villains and stuff. And I don't really know what's going on, but it looks cool.
So that's all that matters.
Yeah. What you got, George?
All right, my first one is one that I don't know a lot about, but I'm trying to do these in order of what I really am excited about last. So this one could be good. It's called Blind Spot. and it's a word game. It looks like you get a card or maybe a large card, I don't know, with you know how when you go to the eye doctor and you get a bunch of letters on a chart. So you've got that, and then you have these black spots that you somehow put onto this chart, and you do so in order to separate letters more than likely and create words, is what I'm guessing.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be this sort of thing where you keep sort of breaking these things up into smaller and smaller words until you can't anymore. I like word games. This one sounds interesting.
I don't like word games.
This one has one piece of art that I can find on BGG, and it's the title. So don't know much else.
Gotcha.
It's sort of a shot in the dark for me.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
Blind spot.
My first game is Carnival Monsters by Amigo. This is a Richard Garfield game. It's also, I believe, I saw a video with Tom Vassell. I believe this is in the Essentials line. I thought he mentioned that. So, but basically, there's a Royal Monster Society or something like that, and they only allow people into their group, one person a year. So you are going to be drafting lands, if this sounds familiar. And once you get certain kinds of lands, it allows you to capture certain kinds of monsters and get them out. Those are worth points. You play this through 4 seasons, and I don't know, it just sounds cool. Tom seems to think it will appeal to a lot of Magic players because it sounds very familiar to it, with the lands and the monsters and everything. You don't fight each other or anything. It is just straight collection.
Like Pokemon.
And as Matt mentions this was the game that I thought that has the Dice Towers Essential line. Dragon Scales is not Dice Tower Essentials.
I wasn't going to argue with that it did, but I mean, I just knew that this one was. So.
Well, you said it was. I was like, there's no way they published 2. I was like,
okay.
Maybe I got them confused.
Yeah, okay.
And I looked. Yeah.
So, okay. So, and yeah, I don't know. It sounds pretty neat. The artwork is incredible on it. So, yeah, I look forward to it.
All right. So, next one for me is Oceans by North Star Games. It is a standalone game in the Evolution series of games. Everybody starts off as a carnivore instead of plant-based, so that's going to be a little bit different. And it also has 100 unique traits in this like a deep down deck that you'll draw from. So it sounds interesting, and I do kind of like the Evolution series of games, so looking to try this one out.
Cool.
And it's for demo.
Eric the Demo King. No, I'm just kidding. Bang has an expansion after how long? I think Bang the Dice Game's been out for quite a bit.
It has.
Yeah.
So we got Bang the Dice Game, Undead or Alive, and it basically adds 8 new dudes, 2 new dice for fighting duels. If you lose a duel, you have to draw like a wound token, and it'll like stop certain symbols that you can roll. Then I guess you discard it after you roll, maybe. Yep. Anyway, it comes with 4 more players. You can play Undead or Alive mode, which adds a deck of Boneyard cards, and if it overflows with corpses, a zombie outbreak might begin. So it sounds pretty neat. I'm always looking for a reason to get Matt to play this game, so I'll spend $20 to do that. If you haven't been around, Matt hates this game.
Yes.
Top 5 games I hate.
Yes.
Bang the Dice Game. Bang the Dice Game. Bang the Dice Game.
All the expansions.
What you got, George?
Big bullet version.
Okay. My next one is my only 2-player, as far as I know, and it's called Fluttering Souls. Fluttering Souls is by Joel Lewis, and it's published by Nurse Shark Games. Haven't heard of either of those, but this is a game that has beautiful artwork similar to Wingspan, only it's butterflies. And in the game, you're trying to collect butterflies through card play, and when you do, through a round, if you have the most of certain kinds of butterflies, you will win the round and you'll get a white butterfly. If you collect the most white butterflies, then you win the game after 3 to 5 rounds. The reason it's a white butterfly is there's this lovely Japanese story about white butterflies. Yeah, being the...
Is it a poem? Because I need a poem.
Do you know, I bet I could find a poem. I bet there's a poem involved.
I bet there is.
But this is a story about white butterflies being visitors who they're the souls of those who have departed.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like games where they have a cool little backstory.
It's Wingspan with
theme,
ghosts.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Cool.
Sweet. My next game is called Dryptosaurus. It's published by Ankama. This will be for sale. I know a little bit about it. It's basically there's lots of different like dino meeples, different shapes. You will be passing these around and drafting them. I think they intend for you to do it with your hand, but I think it's been recommended to like have a cup or something to put them in because it's kind of awkward, like passing a bunch of loose meeples back and forth. But essentially, you have a player board that has like a dino park, and you're just trying to draft the dinosaurs to stick them in the different spots in the park. And you get points for depending on if you have like so many of a certain type of dinosaur or one of each unique dinosaurs, and there might be a couple that's only like 2 of like the 7 spots. I don't know what the other ones were, but it just sounds cool. I like all the different meeples. I like different shaped meeples, so sounds neat. And it's drafting to an extent.
Cool
For me, Black Angel by Pearl Games. I kind of just dug the theme on this one. Earth is dying off. The great nations band together, and they're trying to make sure that our species survive. So they made this gigantic frigate space station, I guess, that is called the Black Angel. It's going to go out and try to find a new planet for our species to repopulate. So it doesn't even have people on it. It just has our genetic material on it. It is everything's done by a AI, which you play. Except they didn't, I guess, want to put everything on one AI, so they put different AIs on it. So you're playing, I think, one of these AIs, and whoever does the best kind of reawakens humanity on a new planet. So
that's a interesting concept.
Yeah,
it's a great theme, and it's a re-implementation of the game Toi.
Oh yes, all right.
Is that game good?
I've heard it's very good. I've not played it. It doesn't sound like my kind of game, to be honest.
Oh.
Well,
it's
maybe this one.
It's not my kind of game in the sense.
Not kind of theme or not kind of
gameplay. Like I also don't like Zolkin, and a lot of people really like
blasphemy.
Eric's like, this makes it more entertaining.
I think it's probably an excellent game, just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I am Jack's competitive card game. This is the Fight Club, the home game. It's the only 2-player game I have on my list, and it's by Mondo Games. Basically, one player plays basically as the narrator. You're a slave to the retail nesting instinct. So you're playing this thing where you're trying to be a good civilian, I guess, and the other player is playing the voice in your head, basically, and I guess trying to really mess with you. It's a deck builder, which is interesting, and it's a 2-player game. So this is very odd. I mean, hopefully it has a lot of cool mechanisms. There's only 1 paragraph about the game, so there's not a lot of info. I'm not a very big fan of the artwork for the box, even though it looks neat. I just don't think if that's the box art, I don't know how well it's going to sell, just because it doesn't really, you have to be a Fight Club fan to really kind of get it. It would have been cool if it had like the iconic Fight Club logo.
Right.
The soap.
In the soap.
But whatever. It's neat, and I'm a huge fan of Fight Club. It's my #1 movie ever. So I'm looking forward to this.
It would be interesting if you're both building into the same deck.
Oh, that'd be interesting. You're trying to mess with each other, or yeah. I don't know. There's so many cool things you can do with this mechanism, like this idea, this theme. So
yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay. My next is called Sabotage. It is Tim Fowers' game of Fowers Games. And this is a game where you have ideally two teams of 2 players each, and one team is the spies and the other team is the villains. And so the spies are creeping around on a board. Both sets of players have the same board, but it's separated on the table. You can't see the position of where the other people are. When the spies move, every so often they have to reveal partial information about where they are, and then the villains respond to that. The spies are trying to hack into the villain's computer 8 times, and the villains are trying to take them out.
And it's a team-based game.
Team-based. I love team-based games.
I like team-based games.
Yeah, I think
there's
that's
not a whole lot of good team-based games.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this sounds pretty neat.
And this is also hidden movement and deduction, which I also enjoy.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, lighter note, my next game is Oh My God, Stacy. This is a player game.
Oh my God, Stacy.
It's a party game for 3 to 12 players. It is published by Chronicle Books. Essentially, from what I can gather, is I think they give you. Well, let me first start off by saying the box is a big Trapper Keeper that I think is incredible.
I had a Trapper Keeper.
Yes, Trapper Keeper, and it's even got like little like some of the goofy stickers we used to put on the box or whatever.
Eric, you had a Trapper Keeper?
Oh yeah.
And your middle name is Stacy.
Watch the rest of the episode.
And so inside the Trapper Keeper is other boxes. One of them's like a locker. One's a pizza box that I would believe is like the point tokens. It's about like, but the pizzas are together, and I think you break them up into slices.
Nice.
And the lockers have. I think what I'm gathering is they give you a word or a phrase, and you're supposed to kind of like come up with 80s movies that relate.
Ooh.
Oh.
So you better be a fan of the 80s,
right?
You
Breakfast
better bring your A game. But they also have like morning announcements that changes the rules of the game as you're playing. And I believe there's teams also, and there might have a little bit of a take that feel to it because it sounds like you're playing cards to sabotage the other people.
Does it change the rules in the sense that like now you have to do a silly thing when you answer a question? You know, that kind of.
No, I don't know, but I don't know.
Okay.
I'll get back to you on that.
Hey, I'll get back to you when I get my copy of this. I'll let you know.
All right, for me, next game for me is called Era Medieval Age. It's by Eckert Spiel. Hopefully I said that right. It's a roll and build game instead of a roll, right? So I will say there is one bad thing about this game, and they decided to make their player boards on this like ugly yellow beigey.
It's like 1970s off-white beige.
Out of, plastic. They could have easily made some kind of background or made this much more pretty. They have castle pieces and buildings and walls that are also plastic, but at least, they will look nice. But what you're putting them onto is very bland, but it is something I'm still going to, check out. But that might cause me not to just buy it just because of the player boards.
Yeah. I almost added this to the list, and then I saw that. I'm like,
looked at the picture?
Nope.
Yeah. So I wish they
Which is sad
maybe they
because I
come up
think
with
it's
a second edition and kind of
well, but then again, it does have some fantastic amount of response so far, like actual gameplay. So maybe if it's ugly, who cares? But it's definitely one that you approach with caution based on the color of the boards.
Right.
Next up for me is Team 3. This is coming out by Brain Games. And essentially, Team 3 is a team-based game.
There we go.
Right? Where you play in teams of 3.
Love it.
There's all these like Tetris-style looking cube or blocks, for lack of a better description. And you have to put those in a certain pattern, kind of like what you're doing in Lift It. That style of idea, concept, or whatever. Here's the problem. Right, you play one of the 3 monkeys, so one can't speak, one can't see, one can't see.
That's different.
One can't hear.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, the one person pulls out a blueprint card, and that person can't speak. So say I'm that person. I gotta relate to Eric how to build this with gestures, like pointing and moving my hands and making like the tiles with my hands and stuff.
Yeah.
Then Eric, who's in the middle, has to interpret those gestures and tell them to Matt, who can't see the pieces. His eyes are closed. So Eric's like, okay, Matt, put the one that's a plus sign in the top. And Matt's like, I don't know where that's at. So you're
What's
trying,
the top?
yeah. So you're trying to build this.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And team games for 3 players, that's already good.
That is already good.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3-player teams.
It sounds fantastic.
I mean, I guess you need, a specific group of 6 or 9, but that will be one of your problems. But if you have that kind of group, awesome.
I mean, it says plays with 3 or 5 to 6. So I don't know. There might be like a weird,
Some kind of
They
variant.
got a variant.
Like somebody
Yeah.
floats between teams.
right? Something like that.
Yeah,
So-
I'm so down for this one.
Yeah, there's 2 different ones. There's a green and a pink version. And it says each version of Team 3 comes with a different set of blueprints and a mini expansion. So
Who's the
Fantastic.
publisher?
collect them all. Brain Games. The same people do Ice Cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, Simon actually did something similar with one of their games, Railroad Inc., where they have a blue and a red.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people actually didn't like that because they felt they were kind of double dipping on the same game just to get a couple more pieces.
Agreed.
Hmm.
But this kind of game, which is a party game, you like to have lots and lots of options for the things that you're going to be building. You want extra cards.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a reasonable enough price, then I'm okay with it.
Well, each one comes with a mini expansion too, so maybe that'll add a lot. And the other thing, it's like $20, probably less if you get it online and stuff. So it's not that bad, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is called Grindhouse, and this is a game by John Cohn, Stephen Ambrose Wessel, and it's by Everything Epic Games. This is one where you have 2 to 6 players. I'm guessing more players would be better. And you get characters, and you're going into this mansion that is run by a host who is insane. And he's going to give you all kinds of crazy tasks to complete. And depending on how you do them, you're going to end up losing body parts and
Oh.
Yeah.
Is the host named Jigsaw?
It's basically that.
Yeah.
And you may die. And if you die, then you come back as a ghost and you haunt the rest of the players because you don't want them getting out alive.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't, that's right.
You're bitter.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know a whole lot about it other than that theme, but it makes me think of the Switch game, which was in the Jack Box party game series. I think number 3 series, which was Murder Party. And that's a game.
What a great name for it.
Murder Party.
Highest recommendation for that. That is a fantastic trivia game where you have to answer these trivia questions on your phone with a group. And then if you don't do it fast enough, if you're the last person to answer or you get it wrong or whatever it is, then you have a couple people that are selected to be in a challenge. And the people who are in the challenge, the one who does the worst at the challenge dies and comes back as a ghost. But they can still win the game. It's just much harder for them at that point. It's so good. So this makes me think of that, the board game. And if it is, it's going to be fantastic.
Cool.
That's pretty good. What you got, Matt?
My next game is Aquatica. It's published by Cosmodrome Games. It sounds like we're all mighty ocean kings and we're struggling to bring glory back to our name. So we're going to play cards and do stuff. There is not a lot out about this game. It looks very pretty though. The one thing though is they mentioned that it has a 3-layered player board and a unique mechanism of card rising, whatever that is. I don't know, but I'm interested to find out. So
3 layers though, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
why.
I don't know. It looks very pretty though. I like all the some of the card art that I saw. Because I think you're trying to draft creatures to do things for you. So, I don't know. Sounds neat.
Next one for me is MeepleCore Legacy. It's by Pendosaurus Games. If you like MeepleCore, why don't you play a series of 10 games? So rolling dice, collecting income, building buildings, all that good stuff, getting some landmarks, but you're doing it over 10 games and it's going to tell some kind of complete story. So just because of the legacy aspect of it, I wouldn't mind checking it out.
Well, hopefully it's one of those legacy where things change, but you can just kind of reset it and play again.
Maybe.
Because MeepleCore wasn't really that long of a game. I mean, what do you sit down and beat the game all in one go? But then you lose all the legacy aspect of it. I don't know.
Right.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
To see what it adds.
See what it actually does that changes the gameplay from game to game.
Right. Next up for me is a game that I'm very excited about. This probably is one of the only demo games I have on my list, but they said that they were shooting for a release at Gencon, and that is the God of War, the card game. We talked about this in the news segment, probably not too long ago, maybe 3 or 4 episodes or so, when it was first announced. But basically what's neat about it is it's a cooperative game, which is usually not on my list in the first place, but everything that's going on just sounds awesome. Each player has a deck of cards that you're going to do stuff to try to affect what's called the scene. And the scene is like this grid of cards that are double-sided that make up a scene of a battlefield or whatever, like maybe it's an entire dragon and different pieces of the dragon, or it's like a bunch of different monsters, each one on a different card. And there's a lot of elements to where when you flip the card, stuff happens, and there's some dice rolling and some neat stuff going on. But the the thoughts of this like battle scene in the middle that changes when you actually affect it by flipping the cards over. Maybe stuff gets destroyed and so many cool things.
Sounds neat.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty cool like experience. I don't think it's supposed to be super long. It's more of like it's supposed to be, I think, from what I understood in the comments and people writing about it, it's gonna be a lot shorter and lighter, specifically because you want to grab the video game crowd with this type of title using this license. So they're not going to be like,
it's not going to be real in depth, probably.
Yeah, it's not like WoW the board game.
Right.
Yeah. So the only pictures they have look cool, and I remember them showing the other pictures on the actual Come On websites, and it just looks neat. The scene is just such a cool concept.
Yeah.
It screams, please get the Monster Hunter license and make it to where like you can sever the tails and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
If they even put that on Tebru, I would do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, my next one is because I can't buy Cat Isle of Cats.
Right.
Just
Another
yet.
cat game.
Can't get it. This is called the Cat Cafe, and this is by Li Juhua and Alley Cat Games. And interestingly enough, this is a roll and write that is based on his previous game, Cat Tower, which is a dexterity game.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking I could use this as a roll and write, just to enjoy roll and writes, and I could maybe use parts of it to add stuff into the game Cat Tower.
Yeah. Do you have that?
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So I'm really interested to see how that goes, and I don't have more than a couple roll and writes, so why not get one about cats?
Mm-hmm.
What the things you're actually drawing on there are like toys and stuff for your cat.
You're drawing toys there are all these cat towers,
like trees, like the little carpeted trees.
Yeah,
and
not
stuff.
towers made of cats as the actual dexterity game, but towers that cats sit on, and then you put toys on different levels, and where you place them gives you points.
Yeah,
so you roll dice to figure out how you do it.
Sweet. My next game is Dragon Realm. It's by Game Right. This is kind of a lighter game. If they had a game called Dragon Wood, that was essentially kind of a card game where you're doing melds with straights and colors and stuff like that to gain artifacts and do more stuff. This is just a little bit more deeper version of that. You're essentially kind of doing the same thing with the cards, but there's an area control, and it's not really a worker placement. It's more just area control, like I said. But it sounds like you're trying to get to these locations to get stuff, but there's goblins that can beat you there. So I assume the game is somehow playing against everybody at the same time.
I looked at the pictures, and I remember a long time ago you talked about this game on the podcast because I didn't play this one.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But it looks kind of similar.
Yes, it is. The card play sounds pretty much like the exact same thing.
Okay.
But they've added areas to put meeples on. So
it must be doing well because I see it like at Target and I see it at Meijer.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I didn't realize the game was that popular or sold that well.
What, Dragonwood?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does. It's a nice little kind of filler beginner game for kids. So
yeah,
my kids liked it. So and it also has a dice rolling to do in both games, I believe. So
neat.
All right, next game for me is called Endangered. It's by Grand Gamers Guild. It is a cooperative game where you're trying to save these endangered animals, whether that be tigers or otters. It has a pretty cool mechanic in it, which I don't see in a lot of games. I don't think is where you're rolling these dice. You go into different action spaces. It is co-op. If you put a 3 on it, the next time you want to do that action, you have to put something higher. So, a 4 or 5. But I guess once you put it 6, you can't do that action anymore. Also, there's the species that are on this board, and you're kind of wanting them to, for one part, kind of stay apart because things happen to the board where, it might take out, that one particular animal. But you also want them together because you want them to breed and reproduce. So it looks interesting. So I also thought it would be on George's list, but for whatever reason, it didn't make it on his list.
I'm not sure I can bear the thought of
killing them off.
Killing otters. Yeah,
otters.
Can't do it.
But you're trying to save them.
Even if I inadvertently killed an otter, I couldn't do it.
All right. That makes sense.
That's fair enough.
You can play with the tigers.
Yeah.
My next game, I hope I pronounced this right, Ragusa, and it's by Braincrack. Well, it's Capstone Games. Braincrack Games, I guess, is the original. Published by Capstone Games. I don't know. Either way, it's an interesting game because all the players have like a handful of different of houses that you're going to place out on this map. And basically there's a city portion of it and like the farm area, I guess, or like the, I don't know. I don't remember what they actually call the other side, but basically you get resources by going out into the fields and stuff. When you place a piece, when your houses, you're going to activate the 3 spaces next to it. So it's always like next to 3 different things. So 3 different resources, or in the city, you're next to 3 different actions. And what's neat is when you place, you'll reactivate your other houses and stuff, because you always activate the 3 spaces around it. But what's neat is that if you place next to an opponent's piece, not only will you activate the places around it, but you activate your opponent's piece as well. And so it's kind of a strategy of placing out and maybe getting people to activate your stuff so that you get a lot of cool stuff out of your turn, and then, you know, it helps you to victory. And it's supposed to be a pretty 40 to 80 minutes, but it's a 3 of 5 on the weight scale, which is pretty nice. This sounds like a really nice, it's up to 4 players. Sounds like a really nice length game that I'm super interested about. Heavy Cardboard did an entire playthrough for, I guess, the Kickstarter. So if you're interested, you can check out the actual gameplay of this one. I didn't really watch too much of it. I just read the descriptions and looked at the pictures, and I was sold. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. My next, this is just a small expansion. It's the Illicit Investments expansion for Stockpile. Yeah. That is by Breth Sobel and Seth Van Orden, and it's by Navu Games. And this is just a collection of promo cards and other cards that were made for the game, and a very small expansion, I think. So I hope it's not
a module.
It's like a
basically.
module, yeah. And so it's the second one. I have the first expansion. This is the second one. It says that you can now do things like go for the big short, conduct cowboy marketing, or pump and dump a company stock. I don't know what any of that means.
Right. Yeah, basically there's these cards that you get, and I believe you'll have a hand of them, and you have an opportunity during each action phase where you can play one of them.
And do stuff, yeah. So, but Stockpile is one of the only strictly stock games that I can actually take.
Yeah, it is one of the better ones.
It's
for
a
sure.
good one, yes.
Yeah.
I like that. Chicago Express.
Oh no, there's another, yeah. And very soon, Irish Gauge.
Doesn't matter if it's terrible.
Right. No, it's going to be better than Chicago Express.
Oh.
Blasphemy.
My next game is Metal Gear Solid, the board game. This will be demo only. Our arm wrestled Tim to be able to talk about this one. But like I said, it's by IDW Games. It will be demo only. I tried to find out something about this game. I just saw that there was an interview on Facebook, so I did not get a chance to read it or watch it. But it sounds like it is a cooperative game, and the board game has an AI of sort. I would assume it's something like Spectre Ops, if I had to take a guess. I've seen a picture of the miniatures. It looks like it has all the villains you fought from the Metal Gear Solid game. And I believe it has Merle and Solid Snake, of course. So that's literally all I know about it. Hopefully you can hide in a box.
Right.
With your
Definitely.
eyes. Yeah. Little slit in your eyes.
So I want to hide in a box and smoke cigarettes before I shoot people because they calm you and you don't shake with the sniper rifle as much. So,
And it's designed by Emerson.
and it's designed by Emerson. Yeah.
That was going to be good.
So I apologize to him because we tried to line up something at Origins to do like a podcast at Origins, and man, we were just worn out from doing all those interviews during the convention hours.
We stayed busy.
I did not even feel like getting the podcast stuff out. So we didn't do a bonus episode for Origins, but there will be one for Gencon, and I'm pretty sure that I've talked to Emerson, and hopefully he'll be joining us. At worst case, he's gonna have the actual copy there from what he understands, and then maybe we'll be able to get a video with him.
Yeah.
Explain
nice.
the game or
Yeah.
something. I don't know if it's not too long. Play it.
Yeah.
Phil was playing it. That'd be kind of neat because I'll take all my stuff.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it, man. God, Metal Gear Solid, high school memories.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. No, not me. I'm too old.
Oh, well,
But I did play it.
Elementary school
that's fair.
memories. Next game for me is called Abomination by is Abomination the Heir of Frankenstein. It is by Plaid Hat Games, which anything really that Plaid Hat has came out with has been really good. So just being under that publisher makes me, at least check it out. So it's a unique worker placement game where you're trying to build a mate for Frankenstein. However, there's a captain that is trying to kill Frankenstein. So that's kind of the timeline of the game that, you'll have to do this before he dies or whatever. So you're gathering body parts, you're gathering energy, and you're trying to get fresher body parts, and the body parts you have will degrade after time.
This sounds great.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, but I think it'll be pretty good. It is a little bit of a longer game. Like I said, it is a worker placement as well. I think it's like a 2.5, 3 hour game length. So, which that's not a downside for me. I actually think it's kind of an upside. You get to kind of have time to implement a lot of strategies and do whatever that you need to do during the game. There's also an event encounter deck that's going to add some story elements to the game that's going to change it up. So
Nice.
looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I almost put this on there, but then I didn't because of reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that one.
I gotta say the artwork of this thing looks incredible.
It does look great.
It's super macabre, and
Right.
I like when you're getting the body parts. It looks like the old school like muscle sketch or whatever you used to see in your textbook that had like labeled all the muscles.
Yeah, depending on the body parts, you get some have like skin on them, some maybe just the muscles,
Like an anatomical chart,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Okay. I
Kind of like some
overlooked
of those
this.
wax museums.
yeah.
Yeah.
I overlooked this completely, and now that you've mentioned it,
yeah.
I'm also
this looks.
I'm also
great.
excited.
definitely check it out.
Eric arm wrestled me to be able to talk about
Right,
this one.
yeah, this is probably one of the main ones that I'm looking forward to.
Sounds good.
Next up for me, Matt had talked about on the Origins preview. It's Cartographers, a role-player tale. Apparently, I didn't listen very well. I kind of remember him talking about it now, though, after he told me. But I left it on my list because I needed to have as many as these guys. So, but basically, it's 1 to 1,000 players. It says 100, but whatever. The point is, it's kind of a solo game that you can play with me, people, because it's like a roll and write, except there's no dice. It's actually like a flip and write, because there's a bunch of cards that you flip out. And what's neat is that you flip them out, and there's a time system. You play through all 4 seasons, and you're trying to, I guess, be a cartographer of the land and map out the land or whatnot. So you flip out the time. So you might find like an ancient ruins that cost 2 time. All the time means is how long the round's going to last, because once 8 points of cards have been flipped out, the round ends, you do scoring, you move on to the second round. So what you're actually doing with these cards is it might flip out and say, you need to draw water or sand or desert or whatever in the configuration of this Tetris piece. And then on your map, you have to put it where you want. These are prototype things, if you're looking at that, George.
I am.
So you place it on your map and you draw out like a Tetris piece, and you put trees on it or mountains or like water or whatever. But what's neat is it has this Isle of Skye style scoring system where there are 6 like A, B, C, D, E, F, right? Scoring things. And then like in round 1, you'll score A and B, and round 2 is like C and D and all that stuff.
Right.
So like even though you're not looking forward to it now, you might have to come back and score it later type of deal. So you play over all 4 seasons, and then whoever has the most points pretty much wins the game. But it looks super cool, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not that passionate about like roll and writes, but apparently this one's getting a lot of praise, and Thunderworks games is quickly rising on my list anyway. So awesome.
I wonder if there's some room for this to be done with actual maps and actual, locations, and you're being a cartographer for, let's say, the
Google Maps.
Google.
Just maybe during the age of exploration or something like that, where you've come across some new actual landscape that, rather than, I'm not that crazy about the fantasy theme.
Themes.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, I wonder.
I think it's awesome.
All right, so that's interesting that my next one is sort of related to that because I'm not related, not really crazy about the fantasy theme. I have always liked Sagrada better than Role Player, and so Cartographers based on the Role Player universe. My next one is Sagrada, and it's Sagrada, the Great Facades Passion, which is an expansion for that game. There's going to be 3 of these. One is going to be called Life, and one is going to be called Glory. This is the first one called Passion, and it adds more stuff for the game.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, all right, real quickly. It adds rare glass, it adds private objectives, and symmetry public objectives. Not sure what that means, but it all sounds good to me. It's a great game.
Gotcha. My next game is, and I think everyone's going to laugh at me as I talk about this. I didn't realize this is a demo only, but
you already did the Stacy game.
Yes, yeah. Well, no.
We laughed.
You can't go further back than that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Aftermath. It is by Plaid Hat Games, but I just realized it is a cooperative game. And I
don't put those on my list.
I don't put cooperative games on my list. I turn my nose at them.
I also put demo games on my list.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've only got 2.
That's fine.
So it happens. Really just the artwork and the fact that you play as critters. Essentially, it sounds like the world is gone. Humans are gone. The world is gone. Humans are gone from the world, and animals are left. And I guess they've learned how to use guns and stuff. And
Boo.
Yeah. So so you have to your colony, you are known to your colony as providers, the providers. And so it's, I guess you need to provide for your colony, so you venture out and you have adventures. This is played on one of those kind of like spiral books, like what Above and Below, is that right? The spiral.
Well, more like stuffed fables.
I think Above and Below does a Near and Far.
Okay,
a spiral book.
I wasn't saying
it's like maps.
Okay, I wasn't saying it's like that. I was just saying with the same style of like spiral
components.
book. Yes.
Yeah, but Jeremy Hawthorne, he's done Stuffed Fables and Comanauts, which both do that.
Gotcha.
As well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would make more sense why you relate that. You should have told me before, George. It's all good.
Making me look bad.
Yeah, making me look bad.
Cut this part out.
Yeah, cut this part out. But yeah, it just looks neat. There's little miniatures with it. I've obviously, most of the pictures, they show them painted. They don't come painted. They're very gray, but that is fine. That's how most of them come. But just everything looks very nice. I know George would smirk, but I mean, for Mystic, Mice and Mystics, I really enjoyed that. So
Me too.
I would think this is kind of similar, but George would probably disagree.
It's kind of similar, but here's the thing that I like about animals is that they're not people and they don't use guns.
Yeah, they're cute and furry.
Yeah,
They might
Mice and
scratch you
Mystic-
or...
Mice and Mystics is kind of charming, and like the whole medieval thing, I can swallow that a little more than I can. Here's a mouse with a shotgun,
Right, yeah.
and
Dope.
he's gonna shoot you in the face.
Something like Good Critters, not up your alley.
No, that always bothers me. It just does. I don't want my charming animal games to be like gritty survival.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
Something else neat before we move on from George's gripes. It does come with 20 playable missions, and it sounds like you build your colony to an extent. So I'm
That'd be
assuming
cool.
as you go out for and get resources, you bring them back. You must have some kind of like civ building going on with it. So
Like
That's
a-
kind of cool
neat.
sounding. Yeah.
yeah.
like a campaign, sort of like what's that massive game that you got? Monster.
Oh, Kingdom Death Monster.
Kingdom
you go.
Death Monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I want to shoot cats in the face.
Next game for me is Las Vegas Royale by Aaliyah. So if you haven't played Las Vegas, it's a dice game that is implemented pretty well. It is available, but what this does, it incorporates parts of the expansion, which is not available, which is Vegas Boulevard expansion. So it adds these expansion tiles to each of these casinos that once you place your dice there, you get some kind of special ability, as well as it gives everybody a dice that's a little bit bigger or bigger than the others, which acts as 2 dice. So I think it adds to the game. I do like the base game, so looking forward to trying this out and maybe getting that at Gen Con.
Cool. My next game is also another Thunderworks game that Matt had talked about at on the Origins, but it's the Lockup, a role player tell. And basically, this one's getting a lot of buzz, and it is a worker placement game, and it has a couple of mechanisms that I thoroughly enjoy. But basically, you are trying to run the most notorious like gangs. Like it's a medieval game, obviously, but
it's prison life.
But it's prison life, and you're trying to run this like medieval gang that's in prison. By creating contraband and doing things to get reputation in the prison, but not get so much suspicion from the guards that it's detrimental to you, right? So you are worker placing guys on these different spots, but when on your turn when you place, it has this cool thing that I remember from Farlight. If you remember that game at all, Eric? No? Anybody?
Yes, I remember it.
Yeah. So when you place your workers out, they're worth different point values, like 1 to 5, I think. And when you place them out, you can place as many on that space as you want. Obviously, you won't be able to like divide and conquer at that point. But up to 2 tokens, I believe, you can put face down. So it's like, did you put really high guys on there, or did you put really low guys?
Right.
So you might try to compete over a certain spot. And that's the part in Farlight that I really, really liked. That bidding aspect where it's like, oh man, he's got 2 tokens on there. He could have put his 4 and 5, or he's bluffing and put his 1 and 2, you know. But what's even cooler in this one is certain spots that you go to will arise suspicion if you do too well or whatever, or if you win the first place, or you know, whatever the case may be, because there's cards that go on each spot too. And you have a lookout token that you can put face down that'll kind of like look out, and you won't get suspicion from it because he's keeping, you know, an eye out. And you're mostly just getting a bunch of resources, going to these different places, and you go to other spots to actually build the contraband. There's really funny items in this, kind of like, you know, like shanks and stuff.
Right.
But they're really funny. Like a teeth brush.
Because shanks aren't funny.
They're really
I mean,
not.
it's just silly, like, contraptions. But it looks really cool. Tom Vassal on the Dice Tower just put a review up about last week, and I watched his little thing, and I got really excited by it, and then I didn't realize Matt talked about it. But I remember him talking about it now.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I think it was supposed to last
Kickstarter,
Gencon.
wasn't
Well,
it?
last Gencon it was supposed to at least be demoed at, and they didn't even have it. And then I think at Origins they teased like it was going to be there for demo or something. At first, I think they might even act like they were going to release it, and then it's nice to see them finally bringing it out. So
Yeah, I don't remember if they did, because we walked by the Thunderworks booth and we saw
Yeah, I didn't
They
see
still
it.
didn't have it?
familiars. Yeah,
right, okay,
I mean, I don't remember seeing it at their booth.
yeah. So they at least said it would be for demo at Origins, and they still failed at that one. So I'm glad they're at least bringing it out.
Yeah, looks really good. What you got for us, George?
Okay, my next one is an expansion for a game that has been re-released by Rebel Games, and its designer is Adam Kaluska. This is K2, and the expansion is K2 Lhotse, and this is one of the other peaks that's right there around Everest. So they had Broad Peak before. That was their first expansion. This is the next one, and in this one you can have temporary rope. You can make your own ascent lines, basically, and there's other weather effects. There's just different approaches to the various mountains, and you have a shorter time limit as well. So it's just going to add more challenge and adversity to an already really good game.
Jinx.
That was
Sweet. My next game, I will ask everybody: got bacon?
Got bacon.
Kevin Bacon? But my next game is Terror Below. It is published by Renegade Games. The reason I'm making Kevin Bacon jokes is because
I didn't really get it at first, and now I get it.
because it's essentially Tremors.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Which is fantastic.
It's a nice way around a license dispute. Essentially, it looks like for some reason there's big worms in your town. And for an even stranger reason, there's eggs laying around that you feel the need to go run around and pick up.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Omelets.
Yeah.
Omelets.
They taste good.
But it sounds like the more you move, the more it draws attention to you, and these worms will come up and attack you. They are calling it an action point allowance system, which I always like action point allowance. I would imagine it's got some pressure luck in it, but it's not mentioned. At least
yeah.
I think it would be
imagine so.
cooler. Like if you move this much, if you move too far, you're going to make much more noise and get more attention and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know. It just looks neat. It comes with this big worm miniature thing with the game. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I want to run around and get eggs.
Me too.
Yeah.
I arm wrestled Eric for that game too.
I know. So next one for me is Merlin Knights of the Round Table by Queen Games. What this adds to the base game is 12 new knights that you are going to want to either draft or get 2 at random. These knights are going to give you special powers. So it gives everybody a little bit of different powers that they can use during the game, which is always nice. I kind of like that. While you're there, there's another expansion, which is the Arthur's expansion, which adds a new rondel to the board. And, Arthur's on there. He can go clockwise or counterclockwise, and he opens up, different things that you can do on his rondel as well. So if you missed that one, go pick it up at the Queen booth.
Cool. My next game, other than some of the games that released at Origins or as demo and now they're releasing at Gencon, this is one of my top games I'm looking forward to. And it's called Shipshape. It's by Rob Davio, and it's published by Calliope Games. And basically what it is you're trying to gather... first off, everybody has a hand of identical cards, basically 1 through 10 type of deal. And in the middle of the table, you take all these cargo cards, which are like a square, but the middle's cut out of it, and picture it like it had a grid of 3 by 3, but it only shows certain symbols. And so when you stack them up in a giant stack and you look at it from above, it's like a 3D effect. Like you can see like this one's blocked, but then deeper you can see like there's another thing down there that's maybe like a higher number or whatever. It's really hard to explain unless you go and look at it. But the way it works is everybody puts a card face down, flips them over. Whoever put the highest card gets to take the top cargo thing from this stack, and then so on and so forth. And then you put them on your cargo bay in front of you, but at the end of the game, or you score at the end of certain rounds too, after you grab so many cargo tiles, and at the end of the game, whoever has most points wins. But it looks really cool. Here, look. Now you'll have to look at this on the website, but you see the stack. Basically, it's like a 3 by 3 grid, but like pieces are cut out of it, so it's only showing 3 of the 9 things.
Yeah.
And they stack in this huge stack. Oh, dude, it looks...
I remember looking this game up.
Oh, yeah? Man, it just seems really fun. Kind of probably on the lighter side, but like still strategic, because you're like,
Right.
oh, that looks like a good card. I don't mind getting second or third, but then maybe it has like a bunch of rats. Because at the end of like grabbing some of these things, you'll take like your coin, like there's different symbols on all these tiles, and like you'll take your coins minus the rat tokens, and that's how many points you get for that. So you don't want to get stuck with crappy cargo holds, basically.
It looks interesting because then just the way that you turn these things back and forth, it's very puzzly. You could cover up your rats and
Yes.
reveal other things.
Yeah, here
I don't know if you're allowed to do that at all.
You're allowed to rotate it.
Ooh.
Yeah. I actually read the rule book.
Okay, now I'm suddenly way more interested.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look how awesome that looks.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, anyway, your turn.
Very cool. All right, my next one is one that I don't know enough about, but just based on who has made it and what they've made recently, I'm thinking this is going to be very good. It is Horrified, and it is a game for 1 to 5 players by Forrest Pruzan Creative, and it's by Ravensburger. And they've done a lot of really great titles recently based on IPs, like they did Jaws,
Yeah.
and they did Jurassic
Jurassic
World or Park. Yeah. And this is another one, and it has classic movie monsters.
Hollywood, or
like
Hollywood movie monsters.
Wolfman and the Blob, and all those guys. And so it's a cooperative game. Sorry, Matt, but you're going around, and each of these monsters has a certain sort of means of defeating it and a backstory particular to it. So they have various objectives, and it just sounds very interesting, but I don't really know how it plays yet. So I'm just sort of trusting the name of Ravensburger and the art that I've seen. This is going to be good.
It's Universal Monsters is what I was trying to say, not Hollywood Monsters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The old school ones.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Me?
Yep.
Yes.
My next game is Shadowrun Sprawl Ops. This will be for sale. It's published by Catalyst Games. the people who are publishing this game, whenever they demoed it at Origins, they straight described it as Waterdeep with dice.
What was it called again? I totally.
Shadowrun Sprawl
That's right.
Ops.
All right, keep going.
So essentially, you've got your workers, and this is neat too. You can loan your workers to other players, but they have to pay you for them. So I assume there'd be some table talk and stuff going on there. But it sounds like you can. I guess the dice have different. I don't know. I guess they can be classified as different workers to do different jobs and stuff like that. So you want kind of a diverse group of workers to do it, probably like your techers and stuff like that, to be able to do different things for you. And then so you get trying to gather a dice pool to be able to complete these jobs that you're placing your workers at. So it's got a little bit more going on than just what Waterdeep is doing with just a strict worker placement. So I don't know, sounds cool.
Yeah,
I can't it sucks I missed this. I'm very excited by it though.
And
at least you know about it now.
Yeah, and from what I saw, the board and everything that comes with it is like massive. It's a very big game. So
yeah,
sounds cool.
All right, next one for me is Run.
Is this your last one, Eric?
This is
Okay, keep going.
Run, Fight, or Die Reloaded. It's by Grey Fox Games. It's a rehashed new version of Run, Fight, or Die. So in this version, you could get followers like the previous version, but now they can soak up damage. You can get rid of them. They got rid of the fleeing deck. Instead of having one combo that you might go after, they give you a couple of different combos. You're rolling 6 dice instead of 5. And when you run away from zombies, you can set them on another opponent's board as well. So basically, same game as before, but they made it a little bit better. We played it at Origins.
Way cooler artwork.
Definitely. So looking forward to trying out again at Gencon and maybe picking it up.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, and we sat down and we played it, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, because, King of Tokyo is a good game, but if you don't want all that interaction between each other, like, this is a really fun game to play, even though you do get a little bit of interaction still.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of that comes from fleeing away from zombies and giving it to someone else.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Last game for me is The Towers of Arkanos, and this is a game I talked about. I was very excited for it when it came out on Kickstarter. It must have been almost a year or a year ago, and we talked about it on the news segment, but now it's going to be available at Gen Con, and it's a pretty light game. I mean, Board Game Geek has it as a 1.4 out of 5. It's a pretty light game,
Definitely
but
light.
It's by a new game company called CGS, which is Creative Games Studio. I just thought about that's the most generic name ever, but sorry guys. Great game, boring name for Creative Games. Anyway, the board game looks amazing though, because you have these discs that represent the different pieces of the tower, and there are a few of them out there, and it's like dice drafting, but you draft the dice and you put them on the spaces of the tower, and once a tile gets full, then you put another tile on top of it and you build these towers and you get points and such, and it's pretty light. What's even neater is that each player has a player board that has like 6 different abilities. So when you draft a die, you can put it on top of that number, I believe, to activate that power. And they have pictographic stuff, and on the backside it's all text. So that's pretty awesome. I was watching the kind of run through of that game, and I was like, that's really awesome that you can use like the iconography or flip it over and just get pure text to define the abilities. Anyway, that was a kind of a cosmetic thing, but the game looks awesome, and it looks cool when it's being played. So looking forward to it. What you got, George?
Okay, my next one is called Medium, and this is by Greater Than Games. If I've got that right, they may have changed. And let's do a real quick demo of this. So,
All right.
This is from their webpage. This is a game where you're going to get a word, each of you, and then I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and you both say a word. And if you're on the same psychic medium wavelength, you're going to say the same word, and it'll be amazing.
What?
Okay, so let's see. Eric, if your word is astronaut, and Tim, your word is cheese, You're going to both say a word at the same time, and hopefully you say the same word. 3, 2, 1, go.
Space.
Dry.
Okay. It didn't work. So
Craters. Craters would have been good.
it would have
What did you say?
amazing.
Craters.
It doesn't matter. As long as you both say
Craters?
the
Oh,
same
yeah,
word.
Yeah.
Their example, they said moon.
That's what I said.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
All right, play with Matt.
Here's another one.
You probably didn't hear me over you all, but
Okay, Matt, you're playing with Eric.
well,
Okay.
I'll get this one wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Okay. Matt, your word is river.
But, okay.
Eric, your word is knee.
Knee.
3, 2, 1.
Bend.
Human. Blah. So
Wow.
you're kind of trying to find some kind of
Okay.
correlation between
Yes.
the two.
So Matt is really good at this game because
Yeah.
that is actually what they said.
Bend
Oh,
is
wait,
really good.
All right,
yeah.
all right, 3 times.
All right,
Matt
all
and me. Matt and me. Is there another one?
Okay. Is there another one? Yeah, there's one more. It's perfect. Okay. Matt, you get the hard one because you're good at this game.
Okay.
Okay. Your word is donut. And Tim, your word is Canada. 3, 2, 1.
Hole.
Sorry,
sorry, Canada.
all I could come up with was Maple. But
Yes.
Maple.
Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Matt's amazing. That's amazing.
This is Matt's game.
Write this down, Matt.
Okay. Well, that's basically how you play medium.
All right.
And it's
I would like more than 3 seconds, but I get it.
it would be amazing if you both say the same word at the same time.
Right.
That's like
maybe never
high
happen.
fiveable. Boom, high fives.
But in the game, there are also
So
some.
the words are like deliberately. They have some sort of correlation.
No,
No, right.
No, it is a
you're
deck of
getting
cards, and
Random words.
Oh,
you have to come up with it yourself.
those were just examples.
Right.
I gotcha.
right. Like it could
Right.
be.
Oh, so you don't really need this game. Like,
Well, here's the thing: they also have cards that are psychic powers that you can use to help yourself out. You guys didn't have that benefit, and then there are also there's some kind of cards
you
that
can
are
text your opponent.
I
I
don't
know
know,
what you're
this.
thinking.
cards called the Hand of Fate. I don't know. There must be more to the game, but just the basic idea is fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
sounds awesome. I like this game.
Yeah,
I want to play with Matt.
Fun.
I want to play it.
you're flawless.
Yeah, this game's a lot of fun.
Here, somebody give me a word and give someone else. I want to play it.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Eric and no,
All right.
Matt.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Matt. Get the word.
Rating champion. All right, Eric, you give him a word, and then I will give George a word.
Okay.
I'm giving Matt a word.
They're gonna be so different.
Some kind of basic word.
Yeah.
Matt, bottle.
George, statue. 3, 2, 1.
ship.
Strike. I don't know.
What'd you say?
Strike.
Strike. I thought like ship in a bottle.
You're so good at this game.
We're not worthy. That's
All right,
good stuff.
That's it.
That was fun. Well, it was my last game until George forced one on me.
I offered you one of mine.
Here, take this.
My next game is Nocturian. It is for sale. It is by Vesuvius Media, and
See, that's how you name your company.
yeah,
Yeah.
Vesuvius.
Vesuvius.
It's like,
It is a what is it? It's a dice worker placement game.
I like those.
Yeah, those are like Marco
Polo.
Marco Polo, yeah. But along with that, you have like a player board where you're trying to go to these different locations and get heirlooms. It's like a sword, armor, and a hat is what it looked like on the demo I saw. But then the thing that really drew me to the game is that you get critters for your companions, and they have abilities. And you have 4 slots on your player board at the bottom. You put your little critter peoples. But essentially, I think you're trying to like build an army to like do
go
some
for
like
the
final
world.
battle, at the end of it.
With
So,
your critters.
but it's a really big board, so I assume there's a lot of spots, or they just wasted a lot of space with the board. So it looks like a pretty good sized game. I think it is kind of long, if I remember right. 40-70 minutes ain't bad.
No.
So I guess it's fairly quick, but yeah, it just looks neat. The artwork's really nice, so good
Neat.
stuff.
I think Eric and I are out of games. Anybody else got some?
I have a few.
All right.
All right, go through them.
Here, take a look at this one. and I'll do a different
George is handing games out.
Tim, you
The
get this
bottom
one.
one?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to talk about? I'm
George is
very-
arm wrestling games
No.
to make us talk about
I am
it.
I
very
will-
excited about this game.
just look that one up
It
while I
looks
talk
so
about this
good.
one. Here, I'll talk about this one. Okay. Mine is a.
He gives me a space game. Did you give me a space game?
I
Well, this
did.
game's all the new thing now.
Okay. Anyway, mine is Decrypto. It is the expansion for Decrypto, and it is Laser Drive. And Decrypto is a wonderful party game.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going to add. What is it going to add? Doesn't matter. It's a great game.
Yeah,
Whatever it
anything
adds,
it
it's going to be
good.
great. Yeah. It's going to give you laser tokens to use somehow, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Anything added to a game that good already, I'm
Right.
down.
Yeah.
Matt, you got anything left?
Well, let me quickly look at this thing that George just threw on me. Everdale Pearlbrook.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You threw that
yeah.
one on him?
Well, yeah, he likes critters as
Yeah.
much as I do.
that's fair, that's
Published
fair.
by Starling Games. I don't know anything about this game. I think it adds
we-
stuff with water.
You weren't there
That's-
when we played it?
Oh, you didn't play Everdale.
Oh, my
I played
God.
Everdale.
Oh, yeah,
All
you
right.
did. you
Yes,
did.
I just don't know what the expansion does.
Oh, I got
So,
you.
It has a sideboard. It has
Eric's got
a
it all
frog.
taken out.
Eric, take it.
It has a sideboard. You have a frog ambassador. I think he's going to get you pearls, and you're trying to get these pearls to make like a wonder or a wonder of the world kind of thing. And then it also adds these aquatic critters to your deck that you're going to bring out and add to your tableau.
Yeah.
And then I am going to cheese out and say the reprinting of Everdale
Yeah.
being the Gen Con.
So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
been out of print for a while, and they're going to have
Yes.
some at Gen Con for sale.
Anybody who doesn't have it, go get it.
Yeah.
Fantastic
It is
game.
good.
All right, are you ready? Or I can do another?
Last on my list, George is really excited about Anomaly, published by Starling Games. Left for Dead, the three young students fight for their lives against the unknown entity, the creature. Anyway,
Sounds
it's
awesome.
a hidden movement game, deduction, combat for 2 to 4 players.
Does this one have like a black box with a white triangle looking thing on the front of it?
Yeah, it's not
Kinda-
really triangle-ish.
I guess if you can't remember it, it kind of looks like that. But once you look at it, you're like, oh no, it doesn't look anything.
Yeah.
But it seems cool because you're divided into 2 teams. So awesome with team games.
Team
It's
play.
got deduction. It's sci-fi. It's got area movement. I don't know what else to say.
What else does Board Game Geek say about it?
I'll read off these paragraphs. The anomaly needs to feed to stay alive, either on the fuel of the students themselves.
On the fuel or the students themselves.
Yeah,
Well,
get it
reading's
right.
hard. It's hard. You got one last one?
I've got 2,
I've got 10.
Yeah.
but they're quick. So okay,
All right, just do these 2 and we'll be done.
okay. This one you can't find if you look up on BGG because they.
Oh, is that the what game?
what?
What?
Never name your game what.
No, right.
There's a million whats. Anyway, this is
Or the game.
yeah.
Or the game.
Right, the game what? Yeah, that'd be bad. So this is what, and it's a game that couldn't be simpler. All you do is you have a card. It has a question on it. The question asks you about something on the other side of the card. So you flip over the card and you answer it, and then there's a die, and the die tells you, do you tell the truth or do you answer incorrectly? And you have to go as fast as you can through as many cards as you can, and it's a team game. So you're doing this for your team. There's another team that gets to go. The amount of time that you have is based on how much time the other team either took or did not take.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be one of these party games where it's just you're making hilarious dumb errors because
Because you're trying to do it real
you're
fast.
trying to go fast and you're
Yeah.
just going to turn into a blithering idiot.
Right.
So
It's like, that made no sense.
that's going to be the party game
Sounds like a great drinking game.
for this Gen Con. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the last one?
And my last one is a game that I shouldn't like because it's pick up and deliver, which I typically don't like, but
Mhm.
it's dexterity. So it's called Rail Pass. And Rail Pass, you have these trains and you have cities. So there are 6 cities around the table, and it's co-op as well, which I like.
Yeah.
So you have 10 minutes to play. There are 6 cities around the table. So however many players you have, you divide up the 6 cities. If you have 4 players, somebody's got 2 cities. 2 people do. Yeah.
The
And-
most dexterous.
yeah, maybe. And then you have trains. So your city has a color. Your trains, you have a short one and a long one. You take a whole bunch of dice that don't match your city color, and you roll them, and they're going to be on your mat. And then when the game starts, you have 10 minutes. The trains have engineers in your color. And you're going to take an engineer peg, stick it in a train. You're going to take dice, and you're going to stick it on the train. And then it's called rail pass because you have to physically pick up the train and pass it to somebody else around the table. It's going on a journey to where it needs to go.
Right.
So
different.
you pick it up and you pass it and you go toot toot. And they have to say toot toot when they get it from you.
Jeez.
Right?
And you're constantly passing it along.
So you're
for 10
constantly
minutes.
passing these trains along. But here's the thing. If any of the dice fall off, then you've lost that cargo.
No.
And it's
Thematic.
yeah. And if you actually drop an entire train, like the engineer dies and you lose the train, like it's you've had a wreck.
Silly.
And the engineer can only go so far from his home city. So if you get an engineer that if you pass him too far, then there's some kind of like, I don't know, railroad strike or something, and bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have hotels that you can keep engineers in, because you only have two hands and there's two trains. If you have a train in each hand, you're doing nothing else until someone takes a train from you. So there's going to be all these log jams, all this hilarious, like, send my guy back to me because he's been sleeping in your hotel forever. It's going to be hilarious. 10 minutes, and you see how many things you can get in the right place. There are tunnels that you have to physically pass things through. It's just brilliant. It's going to be
ludicrous.
amazing. It's rail pass.
Cool.
That it?
That's it.
I got one last thing. It's
Oh.
real quick. Matt, did you ever read 8-Bit Theater? It's a comic series, like a web comic series about Final Fantasy characters doing stuff.
I don't think so. No.
Well, I forgot about this until just a few seconds ago. And basically, there's a game called Bargain Quest, and they have a promo pack or like a bonus pack of just card arts,
Right.
of cards that are from the 8-Bit Theater webcomic, which was interesting because it ended in 2010. So it's been like 9 years since this has been going on. And
Time to
more
bring it
importantly, like all the artwork in it was basically the Final Fantasy 1 sprites from the NES game.
Right.
So I'm like, they kind of made them into like actual like art, but it's all Final Fantasy characters, but it's based off 8-Bit Theater. It just seems like straight up copyright avoidance, like on multiple scales. It's like, we made a webcomic that uses the art from a video game, but it's not copyright. We don't own the copyright. Then somebody makes like promo pieces based off of something that skirted the copyright in the first place. It was just really interesting. But it would have been cooler if somebody actually had read it, because it was like 17 or 1800 comics. That's
Wow.
the full series.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome. I'm pretty sure he released it like once a day. It's either once a day or like 3 times a week or something like that. I remember working, this was like back, it had to have been 2003 or 4 kind of era. And I remember just as it came out, I worked every day. I would refresh it until it came out. I was like, yes, read it. Done. It's like 15 minutes. No, not even that long. It's a comic. So it's like one page of a comic comes out in a day.
Okay.
I don't know. If you want to read a massively long, hilarious story, at some point, like if you're familiar with Final Fantasy, the fighter is like played as a dumb person in this game that's just a brute, and he's like, I'll make this new weapon. It's called Sword Chucks, and it's like swords with chains connected to them. And then literally, and this is, I guess, spoiler, but who cares? It's like 500 or 600 comics later, he actually makes them and brings them out. It's like, it's hilarious, dude. It's so funny. It is so funny. I think the website's called Nuclear Power, and the comic is called 8-Bit Theater. But if you just look up 8-Bit Theater online, you'll find it. So
Sweet. And there's a game on it.
well, it's just like a bonus pack of character cards or something for the game called Bargain Quest.
Oh, okay.
It's a really obscure like promo, basically. So it looks neat. I just thought it just caught my eye because of that. I was like, 8-Bit Theater. I had to look it up to see how long ago this has been, because I know it ended. So it's like, it actually has an ending. Anyway, I guess we're done here, right?
Yep.
Well, if you see us at Gen Con, as of
Come
right
say
now,
hi.
pretty much all of us are going, I'm assuming. George is going to make his way there. We're going to be there all 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you see us, a couple of us will probably be walking around, maybe filming some things. We might be doing the podcast on one of the nights randomly in the hallway somewhere. I don't know where. It's not scheduled at all, so I'm sorry. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. So if you see us, say hi, and I guess we're done. So I think it's time to wrap the podcast up. We want to thank you again for tuning in to episode 79 of the MeepleCore Podcast. This episode was recorded on July 22nd, 2019. Please send us questions and comments to meeplecore@gmail.com. Follow MeepleCore on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Check out the video versions of the show on youtube.com/MeepleCore. I'm going to try to say this as fast as possible. Until next time, this is Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple.
Matt RoBear.
Eric Ledford.
George Breden.
Keep on rocking and rolling dice.
I tried to get a micro machine joke in there, but you went.
Oh. Byproduct.
I forgot about those things.
Yeah.